The way I would describe that entire situation is that I really saved myself by taking responsibility. I didn't know the yelling was a problem. I didn't know throwing stuff was a problem in the house. And I just felt like I really kept to myself because I was trying to protect myself. There was a lot of accepting why they don't think like this. Why wouldn't they want this for me? We feel negative about it because we don't feel understood. I grew up in a broken household. I never reconsidered what I wanted to do. I was stubborn. I'll be honest. I was stubborn. So it's a confidence. It's a power inside of me because there's a knowing. I speak on the people who know they want to do something. They want to be something. However, they feel strangled. Because how are you supposed to get stronger mentally to deal with someone, to deal with life, when you don't live life? You just exist. And you expect yourself to do such big things. You need to take it slow. You need to take the small steps. After all those cries, after a therapy session or 5, where has that brought me to? You really need to overwhelm yourself with how excited you are. My name is Bree. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. We welcome you with open arms. If you are a regular viewer, welcome back. I really want to talk about something more personal. I feel like now that I'm locked in with my YouTube, I'm slowly dipping into very major events in my life that has contributed to who I am. This is a tough topic for me because trauma is held in here. My vulnerability issue was all tied up into issues surrounding this. Even though this happened a couple years ago, people my age are still going through it. There's no age attached to standing up for what you love. There's no age of finally standing up to your family because of your situations, about who you are. It's just, different timings, and that's really it. I wouldn't be here today. Oh my God, this is kind of hard. Damn. I'm a bit nervy. Well, I wouldn't be here today, the person that I am today, without certain experiences in my life. A big experience that has contributed to the personalities that I carry today is standing up to my family, standing up for myself, standing up for my interests and things that I want to experiment, good or for bad, just to live and to try. At the ages of 18 to 22, which is exiting out of high school, going into uni, that was my, I would say, experimental phase. Going out with new people, seeing friends, and with the stuff I want to say, I'm not putting anyone on blast. I'm not hatred to anybody because that's over. I'm just sharing because, like I said, this is something that really contributed to where I stand today, and speaking so passionately about doing what you love. With more older people, obviously there is some pushback because of their upbringing, because of how they think. There are certain beliefs against a certain interest or hobby or industry, and sometimes they are resistant because they're also clueless. That was a reason for mine. When we get that type of response, obviously there is very, we feel negative about it because we don't feel understood. That makes us feel some type of way, and then it makes us feel some type of way about them, and then about us, and then rethinking about, like, should I even try this again? Because, like, there's so much, pushback on my choices. I think something I want to first acknowledge within myself is that I never reconsidered what I wanted to do, because I knew it was an experience, and I was aware that my safety always comes first. That was the whole point of why they were so resistant, because of my safety. So I never put myself in situations where it was dangerous or it was messing with the wrong people. I wasn't the one who wanted to just go out and experience with the idea of fuck it, let's ball. Not like that. Obviously, some people don't consider their safety because maybe in their context that was forbidden. You had no chance of, like, even trying that. So I get that. From my context, that's just how I was thinking, what I understood from the other parties that didn't want that for me. I grew up in a broken household, And I also want to mention that my surroundings was also growing up around friends who also had broken households. Nothing against them. That was just what it was. That contributes to how I responded to my own experiences. I felt like because someone else's experience was very traumatic, it was a lot in my head. It downplayed what I was going through. I didn't know I was going through issues. I didn't know the yelling was a problem. I didn't know throwing stuff was a problem in the house. Anger issues was a problem in the house because I thought their issues were like, oh my God, that's like shocking. And because I didn't acknowledge mine, ooh, I was just spiraling down. I don't blame myself for that. No one told me that was wrong. I didn't tell anybody. Nobody. This is what you call one of those battles where you fight by yourself. There's a lot to say. So that really contributed to me growing up in the house a lot more quieter, a lot more guarded. Moving into university, I felt like there was so much tension when I was around family members for whatever reason. It really depended on what had happened, how everyone is feeling about their own things and my things. And I just felt like I really kept to myself because I was trying to protect myself, honestly. I didn't want to cry. I swear to God, my sensitivity to like anyone like yelling, I cried. Sometimes I had to eat less to go up to my room more earlier. Sometimes I just had to eat later so I wouldn't have to deal with that tension and energy while we're on the same table eating. It sucked. It really did. When things did arise, whether it was with something that I shared, it was something that I chose to do, that was on a more larger level, like, choosing my university course. If it was someone else's problem and they took it out on everyone else, I tried to stay quiet because I didn't want to burst their bubble even more, protect myself. Maybe that would keep the peace, but it didn't. That ended up with me crying in my room, biannually, like mental breakdowns because of how overwhelmed I was and the person that I was. It was a lot of building up all this emotional baggage and just feelings, and then I was ignoring it for the past 5 months. And then a certain time of the year, and it was always the same time of the year, it hit and I just exploded and I just felt everything and anything of whatever I went through in the past 6 months. It was god awful, and I went through that for years and I didn't know that was a problem. I thought that that's just how I cried. And then I decided to stand up for myself. And to say the least, it still resulted in me crying. However, there was a difference. And the difference in that was that one way actually opened up a new way of thinking, opened up a new path that allowed me to stand up for my interests, to stand up for my curiosity, to stand up for choices that I just wanted to make. That brings around the thinking of choose your heart. You rather stay quiet and then you just cried and then you just, do that for the next 5 years, or do something just as hard, standing up for myself, which I've never done before like that consistently, still cry my eyes out. But there's something that is building inside of me, which isn't resentment, it isn't like hate for anybody, but it's just like it's a confidence. It's a power inside of me because there's a knowing that I wish to do these things. You can't just tell me it's good or bad. For one, if you didn't try it yourself, for whatever you choose to do in life, I know it's my responsibility to find out. I think it was also that mindset of like, I'll fuck around and find out. If it's bad for me, then that's what happens. I'll accept the consequences. Obviously, there was a lot of resistance because they didn't want me to have those consequences and that risk and all that. And I get it now. But I was stubborn. I'll be honest. Oh, I was stubborn. So I stood my ground, still cried. And that really allowed me, through force, to make my own path and guide me into non traditional choices, decisions, and pathways. And despite all the pain, because it was really painful. Doing something that I've never done, saying things that I never thought I would say, but that's just how I felt. Sometimes it really wasn't, I'm frustrated type of response. Like, I have to be honest. Like, at times there was talk back on my side. Like, I did argue back, but I had to argue back because I was standing on trying to make you understand, letting me understand. Why are you saying that to me? Why are you speaking out about that? Because it wasn't always the arguments that happened in my house, it wasn't always against me. It was just a matter of how they behaved. And the things that they said, it was just not good. It was that bad. It was that controversial that I had to speak up. The quiet one had to speak up. I don't know if they understood that, that they literally like broke my silence for that thing to happen. Maybe subconsciously, I was just tired of being quiet. It got too quiet being quiet. And even though poor results did occur, you might have more poor situations than good ones. However, the good ones were the ones that matter. It was the ones where they finally understood a little, and maybe you knew that because they didn't say anything. There was a lot of accepting why they don't think like this. Why wouldn't they want this for me? The long paragraphs, the arguments, me eating alone more often, the silent treatments. It was shit. Like, it was so bad because knowing that if I lived with my parents and if they were still together like that, I would be so supported. But unfortunately, that wasn't my reality, and I just had to accept that. Maybe it was that. Oh my god. Maybe I did want to do all those things, be all those things because I knew I had support. However, the main issue was the main support at the front lines was not supporting me. After all those cries, after a therapy session or five, where has that brought me to? It has 100% taken me to many different versions of something better. Because every single time, every single season, every single month, every single year, it does get better in so many different ways depending on how you would like things to be. I feel like thinking like that has definitely put myself in a better mindset. Even when going to therapy, I never really asked for anything specific. All I wanted was clarity for myself, to better understand myself and understand how others responded in that time, which led up to me like having a certain belief or mindset. And that was honestly all it needed. I wasn't expecting like a huge coming together moment. If it did, that's great. If it didn't, that's also okay. Because there's just so many things you can control. The only thing you are responsible for is yourself. The way I would describe that entire situation is that I really saved myself by taking responsibility. We can be so unsatisfied, we can feel so uneasy and so overwhelmed with things that are beyond us, that are caused by us. A lot of the time, when something doesn't go wrong, we always want to blame something outside of us, the circumstance, the people around us. Genuinely, there is a person to blame because it was on them. They were angry. They wanted to put up a fight. They didn't want to be a part of your world anymore. And how to handle things better is to have a look at how we feel about the relationship to it. One of my favorite things is obviously perspective, if you've being around on this channel. And you have to realize that me and 5 people can walk this same exact road because of our lifestyle and our current beliefs and just who we are as a person, for good and for bad. Everyone is going to experience that differently. Everyone's going to believe in whatever path is like better or for worse. And we all came from the same thing. Only thing you could worry about is what you can control. Knowing that and only pursuing that takes off so much emotional baggage off your shoulders. A lot of the time, we feel doubtful of ourselves in any context. That doubt has really stemmed from something external. Never just felt shit about yourself this random day. You might have seen something that was never directed at you, but you associated it with yourself. They didn't speak to you, but you thought it did. Now you think that's me. You think this poor relationship, this poor conversation that you had with a friend or a loved one, and now we feel guilty. Then we just carry that shame, that unconscious shame and that unconscious guilt. It feels heavy because it was never ours. It's heavy because it's not true. There's so many reasons why you think it's true, but at the end of the day, right, it was their choice to leave. When they leave, they don't care about you because they left already. And now what stands is how you feel about that situation. And it's either you associate, you identify, and you make your whole personality, this whole emotion about them, about that situation, and that's how you feel. That's your relationship to it. Other people can acknowledge for what it is. It happened. I feel bad, but it doesn't dictate how they will move forward. You have to try to distinguish where you stand in that situation, the way we're reacting to it. Is it either negative or positive? You have to remember everything negative, it shrinks you. It comes from a place of fear of like, maybe no one will like me anymore. Like I'm so unlovable. Like I suck. It's very limiting. It's very constrictive. If you stand even at a neutral position, it's the opposite. You stand in a mindset and in a choice that how I'm choosing to feel moving forward will be through, accepting like I did this or they said that to me. But I choose to move forward. I choose to be more connective to what's next because this is beyond me. Because it brings back to the idea of what are you going to do now? Because after you've decided on where you want to stand, what is your relationship with the thing outside of you, even if it had negative intentions toward you, that is important because that's the only thing you can control. You can only do so much to try and to control the outside of you, but that is when we come back, we investigate, we analyze for a little bit, and then we make small steps that lead to big decisions and what values we will stand on when we do said things. It's not going to look pretty every time, but initiative is what has taken me from there to here. And I couldn't thank myself enough. If you are trying to be someone, trying to see something, what you need is initiative. That is something that you are always going to be thankful for. That past you did that. Even if things don't work out, at least now you know. Before that, you didn't know if it was good or bad. The only way for you to understand that position, understand if you like it or not, is putting yourself in that position, even if it is scary. It helps in so many other things that you wouldn't even consider in that moment. One of those things is building self-trust. Self-trust can be defined in a lot of ways. A lot of people associate it with discipline. But in the most non-overwhelming description, self-trust to me is really just doing what you said you would do. Because when you do it, you show yourself that, yes, I can do this. Even XYZ happens. I'll still do it. I'll still try it. What happens when you don't say that? You get very doubtful because you're always like, never mind. That was me. That was me. I did also experience a very shaky relationship with self-trust and discipline, but it always came down to taking initiative, to quit the gym, to try a new way of movement, to do something that I've never done before, but like, fuck it, I trust myself to keep myself safe and do whatever I can in my control to keep myself intact, get myself as ready as I could be so I can do this. You'll never be in the perfect position. You'll never have the perfect time until your deathbed, until the day before you die. Because then that's it. You're forced to do everything you wanted to do, knowing that you had so much on your list. Taking initiative is very powerful, and that is also a sense of self-empowerment. Self-empowerment is also standing on your word and also having a choice. Because a lot of the times, through society, through other people around us who had influenced us, who we grew up under, we are under their control. But until what time are you going to allow them to dictate your life? I say dictate because a lot of the time we just take it. Not to say like there's nothing bad about them. I speak on the people who know they want to do something. They want to be something. However, they feel like they are strangled and constricted by all these rules, and maybe you are, but at some point you have to realize that you need to take a step forward, no matter what that small step is or that big step is. A step is a step, period. And you should congratulate yourself on that, and you should be proud of yourself for that, no matter what it is. Because again, you will thank yourself for taking that teeny weeny, tiny ass step. I'm telling you. I'm telling you because I'm right here telling you this from first person experience. Initiative is the hardest thing, but it's also the only way in. Pick your heart. Do you still want to walk with a bit of anxiety, a bit of overwhelm, a bit of fear in you? But then you enter the door. And then look what it brought to you. The other side is brighter. Even if there is a bit of resistance, naturally there is. When you do step through the first door, things slowly start to get easier because you've built something within you that will prepare you for your next battle. I'm so dead ass though. Resilience is only created when you continuously put yourself in unfamiliar situations. Because how are you supposed to get stronger mentally to deal with someone, to deal with life, when you don't live life? You just exist, and you expect yourself to do such big things. You need to take it slow. You need to take the small steps. A small step is all you need. A simple mindset is all you need. Keep thinking about it more, because what your attention is focused on, that's what you're going to see more of. That's what you're going to do more of. And that's going to overwhelm the feeling of fear and doubt. Two things can exist at once. However, in this situation, you want the feeling of excitement, of curiosity, of power to really overwhelm the feeling of you feeling so scared and doubtful. When it does overwhelm that feeling of fear, you're just that bitch. You really are. You really need to overwhelm yourself with how excited you are. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, listen, you wouldn't know until you tried. Just saying. Anyways, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed that one. Yeah. I will see you guys next time. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post videos weekly. If you enjoy the vibe, stay along. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.